And we are here for episode 11 of the Talking Dubs podcast. This is where, Mr. Arthur, what do we talk about?
The who, what, when, where, whys of Winfield FFA.
The who, what, where, when, why. Okay. That's exactly what we do. We try to do that every week, giving you an inside look at what's happening with everything that has to do with Winfield Senior High School, Agricultural Education, and FFA chapter. This week, we have a lot in store for you, but I think before we get to that, we need to quickly just talk about last week's show, Mr. Arthur.
All right.
I have a couple of quotes because, hey, it's been a crazy 7 days. I think we could all agree in that. I can't really remember where our headspace was last Thursday, Mr. Arthur.
I don't remember last Thursday, so.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to go through a couple of these quotes and we can just kind of remember some of the highlights of the show. I see here somebody quoted Mr. Arthur as saying, back street or back whatever. That was some good times, Mr. Arthur.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what I was going for, but.
And then I'm going to, I don't want this to go on forever. But I will say, the kids really liked the quotes that we had, especially the one that you said about the quality is never an accident. A lot of people, that resonated with a lot of people, it seems like. And then I'm looking at this one. Before I end on the one I actually like, a couple people quoted mine, and I learned that the hog is special. And, if you need to know what that means, just go back and listen to last week's episode.
I had several of those myself. I was kind of confused at what they were going for, but there's a lot of good stuff in that quote you had, but the hog part, I didn't think was as notable. But
I didn't think it was as notable, but I guess, you pick out what sounds different, and that did sound different. So,
yeah.
But my favorite one was, apparently I said, there were parts of this week that were bananas, but all good bananas. Good bananas are the best.
I don't remember that.
When I read it, I did remember it, and now I have forgotten it again. But I think that could be said about a good number of weeks, Mr. Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have?
Well, the only thing that I picked up that's different from what you just talked about was the fact that a ton of people... their favorite quote included King Arthur, which I think is hilarious. We had Graceland, who is claiming that she came up with that. So I'm not sure if that's the case, but I guess we'll go ahead and give Graceland credit for calling me King Arthur.
That really builds into our quiz later. I'm going to talk about somebody else that is taking credit for something and there is a dispute. So that's interesting.
All right.
But I think that's enough build up, Mr. Arthur. Do you have anything else before we get started?
I don't think so.
All right. Let's go on to the next segment. All right, y'all don't tell Mr. Arthur, but there's a 30% chance that Anchor has ate the first segment of the show, and we might have to reshoot it. So, woo! Kudos to Anchor. They forgot what the red X means. But anyway, we go into the next segment, our first real segment. Where is this? This is the week that was. These are the things that happen in and outside the classroom and ag department and the halls of Winfield Senior High School that can be repeated over the air. So, Mr. Arthur, what even was this week, Mr. Arthur?
Well, let me start off by saying what a week it was. I started off this week in Shreveport at a pig show.
Ooh, a pig show. Is that where you say, hey, there's a pig, there's a pig, there's a pig? What's a pig show, Mr. Arthur?
Well, it was a swine exhibitor show where we had students from all across the state of Louisiana, including one of our own here from Winfield Senior, who were showing their market hogs that they had raised. And so Emma Claire Gill represented Winfield Senior High School very well this week at the State Fair in Shreveport and brought home a couple of ribbons. So we were very proud of Emma Claire for that.
Mr. Arthur, I got 2 quick questions.
Okay.
Did you say that she won a ribbon?
Ribbon.
Oh, ribbon. Okay. Several ribbons. Awesome. I love it. And then the other question I have, Mr. Arthur, is a market hog. Is that one that likes to go to Walmart?
It's one that will be sold at Walmart later. That is your terminal breeds that we're going to talk about if you're not in Ag 1 yet. Not in animal science of Ag 1 yet. Hadn't had that unit that we'll talk about. Terminal breeds are destined to be sold as meat. But yeah, so those animals are raised for slaughter purposes.
Awesome. Love it.
But I was in Shreveport and you were here kind of making everything function, taking down stuff from homecoming week.
Well, Mr. Arthur, I think what every kid needs to see, and I think they see it pretty much on the daily, is we compliment each other well. And not saying that the other one looks nice or that they are funny or something like that. We compliment with 2 E's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And really making just the whole show go. One of us, I'm so happy that one of us was able to cheer on Emma. Big fan of that. And then, as we talked about in extensive detail, last week was homecoming week. And we are, I don't want to be arrogant, Mr. Arthur, but I feel like we are pretty instrumental in making homecoming look good.
Yeah.
And I just went deep in LaSalle Parish to get that good.
Good.
Yeah, good, man. I don't even know how you would spell good like that. It's got 3 syllables in it. But anyway, while y'all were, collecting ribbons and learning what market hogs are, we were dismantling a stage and we were putting up floats. And Mr. Arthur, I feel like I keep a dead horse around here and I keep beating it. I feel like I say this every week. We have great students here.
We do.
And do you know when we came in, you weren't here, but when we came in on Monday, they came to me and they're like, what do we need to do? Because they knew that we were in charge of picking up of a lot of that. And they didn't hesitate. And every student that I asked to do something on Monday did it to the best of their abilities and did it well. And I'm very thankful for all the help that it was really our second block and fourth block, and then most of my second block was so goofy enough they came back and helped me fifth block too. But we got it done. We took care of it, and in record time we dismantled the whole homecoming show.
Yeah, when I got back at 3:30 from Shreveport, it was done. Impressive.
Well, we had cordless drills and flathead screwdrivers and elbows, and that's what was flying around the ag department that day for sure. But thankfully we were able to save a lot of that art that was constructed for this week. And we've talked about, Mr. Arthur, this goes up on Friday. We weren't able to talk about the big success of the trick-or-treat. Halloween. Because, I was thinking, and me and you've talked about, we're going to keep some of that decoration that we did because our display was, Halloween themed. We're going to keep some of that for our trick-or-treat every year so we can, outreach to kids and, give candy out, maybe spread the good word of agriculture to the youth. And, thankfully we were able to keep some of those decorations because they look great.
They did. They looked absolutely excellent. But, that trick-or-treating thing was kind of a last-minute project that we came up with. Our kids were at homecoming, the dance, most of them, and we had one student and her parent that came out and helped us. But we saw about 100 kids. It was pretty awesome.
It was, everybody was so happy, and I liked that if they didn't want to get out of the car, we were able to, safely take them prepackaged candy, or, if they wanted to get out, take a picture with the cauldron and all that kind of stuff, they were able to do that, whatever they were comfortable with. And I thought that was really special.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely a winner. And it should return to next year's POA as well, I think.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the really Saturday through Monday, how it looked around the department. We were able to flex our civic rights and privileges and all those things on Tuesday. And that's as much as we'll talk about that. The election day that never ended. And maybe I'm going to hold my tongue. Anyway, animal science that you talked about earlier, Mr. Arthur, sadly, it stalled this week.
It did. Sure did. We, with the fact that we had turkey fundraising money come in this week, or actually end of last week, but it was just so crazy, we didn't get it all counted. And then the quarantine of, I guess I could say the second quarantine of 2020 is officially started, and so we're going to push that unit back in Ag 1.
I think it's such an important unit for Ag 1, and there's so much. It's a basic unit, and not basic in a negative term, but it's a ground floor building block unit. Foundational. Thank you. I'm doing bad on my thesaurus usage tonight, but it's such a foundational unit that we teach. We don't want to gloss over it. We want it to be the best it can be, and so as much as possible, we want that to be face to face.
Right.
And it kind of hurts both of us to not do it at the same time as the fair and all that, because that we had a lot of history tied up in that, and we, me and you had already lined up Mr. Donnie Moon to help the kids and teach them hands-on animal science, and none of that was just able to come to fruition.
Right.
And so it's kind of a sad deal, but I think by pushing it back a couple of weeks, I think we hit it December 1. I think it's going to be great, Mr. Arthur.
Yeah, I think our students are definitely going to get more out of it if it's in class instead of virtually. So I'm excited that they're going to get to experience kind of a normal unit when it comes to animal science.
For sure. And Mr. Arthur, I thought just real quick, if we could just kind of, kids don't realize how much they've learned.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we could just real quick go over a couple of the units that we've talked about, just kind of show them where they are and what they have to look forward to.
Awesome.
Because, we had that paper that we were supposed to, show our scope and sequence and all that. And it just had me thinking, what I brought to the table, and I'm going to start with Ag 3-4, Mr. Arthur. And if you want to just go Ag 3-4, then 2, then 1.
That sounds good.
Okay. Ag 3-4, started with plant science because that's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that wasn't necessarily it wasn't Mr. Vines' favorite of the sciences, and so I was able to come and teach them a little bit of that in the beginning, and we were able to hit some of the things that are going to be used in contests and some of the things that are just good career learning. And from there, we went and we have this beautiful new carpentry curriculum.
Yeah.
And we're able to start that and catch them up, because this doesn't mean anything to most of these kids, but in the new ag department, they are going to be they're going to get two or three different carpentry credentials by the end of Ag 4.
That's right.
And when you start new programs like that, you have to catch everybody up to speed, and so we've had to spend a good deal of time on that. But in addition to that, we're working on our ag tech stuff, where we're just reviewing all of agriculture all together.
Right.
And, we've been mixing that in 3-4, and coming up, me and you are working this next week on moving things around so we can get into our advanced small engines unit. I'm really looking forward to getting into engines. It's one of the most fun units we teach, and so that's Ag 3-4 pretty much from August to Christmas, Mr. Arthur.
Well, in Ag 2, of course, we started off with our general welcome back to agri-science stuff review. Did a little bit of FFA and P-Law review. And then we flowed right on into Introduction to AET, which is a new program for our students here to keep up with their SAEs. And we were excited to show them that information. And then on that new carpentry curriculum that you were talking about, our Ag 2 students were able to begin to learn safety and tools and procedures of the shop, because they didn't get that at the end of Ag 1 due to COVID. And so we're excited. We're planning on going in the shop this week, and with the things I mentioned earlier, we didn't get to do that, and now we're quarantined. So hopefully, Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise, when they come back, we'll be able to get in the shop and begin working on our carpentry projects.
Mr. Arthur, I don't know if you know this, but Lord willing and the creeks don't rise is one of my favorite. You did idioms the other couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's not an idiom, but that's my favorite. Oh man. And so really, Mr. Arthur, that was Ag 2, right?
Right.
So now, talk about the children. We talk about the youngins.
Right.
We're gonna stay in that LaSalle Parish. The youngins. Our Ag 1 group, really, and I hate to say this, I'm going to be recorded to say this. I'm going to be recorded saying this. Ag 1 is my favorite thing to teach, hands down. Mm-hmm. You're able to cover everything. And, because you're covering everything, you don't have a lot of time to stay on one unit, and you're just moving real quick, and everything's new, And I think that's a real special place to be in, because we're in a traditional Ag 1 model where you kind of cover a little bit of it all.
Right.
And, we started in August with our Introduction to Ag. And I think that is really something that can be glossed over. I think we could have spent a little more time, but those first 3 weeks was insane, and it really got crippled by a couple of things.
Yeah.
But seeing the importance of agriculture is just something that doesn't need to be taken lightly, and I think that it's always the best place to start.
Right. I agree.
And then where did we go from there, Mr. Arthur?
Well, after we left that, and I'm gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had to go to Google Classroom and look at our classwork, because I'm having a hard time remembering. But we went into that Intro to FFA unit.
Yep.
That we spent a lot of time in. I thought probably not as much as we wanted to, but like you said, Ag 1 it's kind of a fast moving train, and so we're trying to cover as many stops as we can, and really tried to explain the importance and our passion for the FFA to our Ag 1 students that I think our Ag 2s, 3s, and 4s really understand. And getting that fundraising money back, Mr. Riley, I think our Ag 1s did understand that. They understand the purpose and the passion behind that. And I'm hoping that when we get into the spring, that all of those students will be excited and fired up for our CDE teams.
Absolutely. That's kind of the point of, well, it's not the point, but CDEs are such a great way for them to show what they learned in the classroom. Put that on exhibit, like we were talking about with the pigs. It's just a way to show what you know, and we have a tradition and a pride of being the best, and we like to continue that. It starts in the classroom. But Mr. Arthur, we went from there, and that's around where we had a couple of issues with a couple of hurricanes, and
Yes.
and so we went from the FFA unit to AET with them as well, because we're starting them off. And I forgot to say that with Ag 3-4, because it all just kind of runs together when you get to be my age, Mr. Arthur. But from there, we went straight into P-Law. Is that correct?
With the ag salesmanship.
Salesmanship, that was it. That was the missing key. And, like you said, I think they listened to salesmanship, Mr. Arthur.
I think they did. I think, and we had a lot of really good sales presentations. And, you never know with freshmen what you're going to get, but I was really pleased overall with the quality that we saw.
And they understood that it's all about the presentation. It's not, about, sometimes we struggle over, I don't know the right word to say or those, but it's about how you present it and how you present yourself. And I think that was really on display with their presentations. But from there, we go into parliamentary procedure, parliamentary law, P-Law, which is a special time.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're stalled in the animal science, but really that's going to take us through Christmas, right, Mr. Arthur?
Yes, that should take us just about to the end of I guess not the end of the semester, but into Christmas. Yeah.
Into Christmas. So. Mr. Arthur, that went a little long, but I really enjoyed it.
I agree. I think that's a good wrap up. At this time, Mr. Riley, I'd like to ask my first question of the night.
Okay.
And it kind of goes in with what we covered, starting with Ag 1. What is the most valuable crop in the United States?
That's a good question, Mr. Arthur.
I kind of struggled with it when I saw the question, because there's a ton of good agronomic commodities. The answer is corn. And I think sometimes corn gets kind of slept on, but that's kind of our foundation of our emblem, and a good reason for it. And corn is used in all types of products that we use every day, from the Cokes that we drink to the cars that we drive. So corn being the most valuable crop in the United States.
Now, Mr. Arthur, real quick, I hate to do this, but I'm a nerd, and I just want clarification. Are you saying it's the most valuable, meaning it is worth the most, or we grow more of it than anything else?
We're going to grow more of that than anything else. Corn prices, as you well know, change all the time. And right now, corn may be actually the most lucrative, valuable crop, but just valuable in terms of uses and the amount grown.
Right. So I have spoke way too much, and so I think, Mr. Arthur, we should go on to the next segment.
Sounds good.
And here we are to When Is This? This is where we try to talk about FFA news, try to give it to you as quickly as possible, and it really helps, Mr. Arthur, because we get the Wednesday updates, and we're here on a Thursday, and so typically it works pretty good. I really enjoyed Cade's email today, because he sent us an email with the subject line, Wednesday update on Thursday. And I think that really sums up the year. But Mr. Arthur, I did want to give a quick update. Operation Christmas Child donations are basically finished.
Yeah.
If anybody had something, reach out to us and we can sneak it in a box real quick. But that's pretty much over. And I wanted you real quick, Mr. Arthur.
Okay.
You could give an update on fundraising
All right. So this year, Mr. Riley and I were kind of wondering how this was going to go. First year in was 50 years, Mr. Riley, that Mr. Vines hasn't been a part of the big fundraiser. I think, I may be wrong on this, but it's been about 30 years or so that we've been doing this Southern Heritage Meat fundraiser for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it was very important that we did well. Mr. Vines and I discussed it the other day. We couldn't remember how many items we did for Thanksgiving last year, but we're over 900 this year, and that's an excellent start. We still have that Christmas order, so thank you to all you guys who went out and sold. We do encourage you to continue selling, to get out there and sell for Christmas. That order will be due December 1st, so you've got 3 weeks to get out and sell those items, and we're hoping to collect another 600 or so items for that. So if you have any questions, if you need another order form, shoot me an email. We'll be glad to leave that up at the office for you to come pick up. Dr. Griffin has given permission for you to swing by and pick up things like that. So we want to help in any way that we can because this fundraiser is very important to our chapter.
Yeah, real quick on that, a couple of things. One, as a reminder to kids, we are here next week.
Yes.
Me and you. Teachers are reporting to school every day. We are available to answer any questions, and we are your FFA advisors. We love to answer any and all FFA questions as the need arises. And so on that, I did hear a couple of people needed another order form, Mr. Arthur. And then I also want to go ahead and start circulating this November 18th. Is that date correct, Mr. Arthur?
November.
Yes, 18th.
Yes.
A Wednesday. That is the day your turkeys come in. Lord willing and the creeks don't rise, Mr. Arthur. That is the day that your turkeys and meats and pecan pies and all will be at the Winfield Senior High School Ag Department that day. And so we will be orchestrating, I think is going to be the best word. We will be orchestrating how we will go about getting those to you. But at some point, you will be responsible for picking those up on November 18th.
Yeah, somehow, some way, they will get out. But like I said, Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. We will be back in school that day.
I want to put this into some perspective, Mr. Arthur. I'm going to pull up my calculator, okay? If we sold over 900 items, right?
Yeah.
Those items, how big is one of those turkeys, Mr. Arthur? How many
8 to 10 pounds.
8 to 10? Mm-hmm. Let's say on the small end, 8 pounds for that one turkey, which you carry a box of 4 of those around, it feels like 100 pounds.
It does.
That is over 7,000 pounds if it was all turkeys.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of merchandise, and we will be moving a lot of processed foods that day.
Yeah, we definitely will, and we'll work with Dr. Griffin and make sure we can orchestrate, like you said, a way for that to happen. But it will happen. So mark that date on your calendar. Notify the people you sold to the 18th. We will have those orders in.
And last 2 things, just real quick, Mr. Arthur, that I have. We are still in talks of our POA, our schedule, our calendar of FFA events. This next week has taken a hit on that, but we will be working with our officer team next week virtually to work on that and how that will look. And so we're working on that, and I have been in talks with our company that is doing our t-shirts and sweatshirts. We are hoping that all that stuff, all that order will go live after Thanksgiving with delivery before Christmas. That's what we're hoping for. And so, maybe you want to give a loved one a Winfield Senior High School sweatshirt for Christmas. I think that'd be a delightful gift. maybe you want to give your ag teacher a T-shirt. Who's to say? Who's to say what you want to do? But you will have those opportunities, hopefully, around November 30th when we return after Thanksgiving. And and I hope that, and I'm gonna will it into existence, Mr. Arthur.
That's all we can do at this point.
Do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, guys. We are going into the next segment. Here we are to Why Is This? The quotes that help define Mr. Arthur and myself, how we feel about education, things that we can help give you a brighter outlook on life. This is the quotes that help define us. Mr. Arthur, would you like to, what did I say? Am I going to start this, Mr. Arthur?
You start.
All right. Mr. Arthur, I have been thinking this week about some of the comedy that helped define how I feel about life. And I've been thinking about my favorite comedian, and I'm not going to name names, but one of my favorites, and he has a quote, and I think it is so applicable to what the kids are about to experience next week. And I say next week, when they're doing this assignment, it'll be this week. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The quote is as such: you can do good work simply by staying up all night and eating nothing but junk food, but probably not in the long term. Because here's the thing, Mr. Arthur, and me and you have both been there. We both went to college. We know how it is. You can do good work, but that's not going to be your great work. Your greatest work is not going to be you staying up all night playing Call of Duty, you sleeping until 2 p.m., eating your junk food, and then going, oh yeah, I have some schoolwork to do. It says you can do, the comedian said, you can do good work by doing that, but, it's not going to be great, and it's probably not going to last, Sometimes I feel like I have to stay up till 2 a.m. to get my creative juices flowing when I'm working on a video, or I'm trying to write something, or those things. And sometimes I get lightning in a bottle. Sometimes it's great work, but it makes me awful the next day. And I have a lovely wife who doesn't like a grumpy husband, and if I'm working till 2:33 a.m., I'm probably going to be grumpy the next day. And so those are things that definitely don't need to be a habit. And hopefully, we are practicing our good study habits this week, even though it's going to be a little irregular. That might have been too preachy, Mr. Arthur.
Oh no, I think it's definitely applicable. Get your work done in the morning. And I know Dr. Cole is going to go live at certain times throughout the day for some of you. Get that out of the way, and then the afternoon and even into the night can be nothing but fun and games for you. So, but just remember to be safe while you're out, because that's going to determine how quickly we get to come back to school and how quickly we get off of virtual.
Absolutely. That was my quote, Mr. Arthur.
Okay. So, we did last week, late Thursday night, you and I sit down and did the podcast, and we were kind of still on a high of homecoming week. And I was thinking, Friday after the game, we stood out in front of the ag department and talked for 45 minutes, kind of just letting it all go. It had been a very hectic but rewarding week. And
that was a special time.
It was. And I was thinking about Winfield, just as a whole, the community, the school. I'm not from here, and so reflecting on all of that and what homecoming week looked like and how much it meant to certain people made me think about my hometown. And I had an idea, or had a thought about, I was on yearbook staff. I think I've told you that before, when I was in high school. And one of the books that we did for my freshman year, we did a theme every year. And we worked really hard on our yearbooks. That was something we prided ourselves in. And the theme for that book, and I went and pulled it so I could remember specifically, was Small Town, Big Dreams. And, the whole book was about how the community of Hornbeck, where I'm from, revolved around the school. And it made me start thinking about Winfield. It is a small town. We have some amazing students who have great aspirations to go off and do great things. And a couple of quotes came to mind. And one of them is from Matt Bevin, who is a former governor of the state of Kentucky. And he said, while it may seem small, the ripple effect of small things is extraordinary. And you talked earlier about beating that dead horse. I will gladly beat this dead horse until there's not a horse left, of how special this place is, how special our ag department is, how special our students are. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a small place. Mm-hmm. The 160 of us who meet here in the ag department on a daily basis, it's a small number. But that hasn't stopped us yet from making a large impact. And, we've talked about that with our POA and our program activities, with our students and community service. We want to give back. We want to make a difference. And that small drop in a pond eventually makes a large ripple effect. But there was one more quote that we actually put in that yearbook. And it was a Henry David Thoreau quote. Any of you English gurus out there, I'm sure, know about Thoreau. But he said, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life that you have imagined." And you start off in this small town, you have those dreams, but it's up to you how big those dreams become. Will they come to fruition, a reality for you? And that's all going to depend on how big you dream and how far you want to go. But every student that walks through our department is better equipped than those that don't to reach and achieve those dreams.
That's special, Mr. Arthur. I really like that. I think it's so important. We preached pride to our kids all week last week, and they did, and they took pride in all the festivities that we did and all the things, and those. I wanted to make a post about if we teach our kids to take pride in things like homecoming week, they're going to learn to take pride in other things.
That's right.
And that ripple effect that you're talking about in that first quote, they're gonna continue to build, and I bet the people that take pride in the community and give back and do that community service and make their community the best, I bet in school they were always cheering at the games. They always dressed up on the theme days, whatever the school asked. I bet they were front and center doing the best they could. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not all the way, because I'm preaching it, and I didn't always dress up on theme days, but I was always losing my voice at football games. I was trying to take pride in something, and I think the more we preach that, the more we do that, I think the better our communities will be. So love it. I love it. Love it when we talk about our small town life.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Arthur, do you have anything else?
That's all I have.
All right, let's go into the last segment. Mr. Arthur.
I was what corny line I said last week when we started.
Well, I was hoping that you would sing to them tonight.
I think all my songs have been sung.
All my songs have been sung. Kids, there's a good quote for the week. All my songs have been sung. I think that says you're tired, Mr. Arthur.
I said, like, maybe I said, "What is this?" Or I don't know, something cheesy.
It
Whatever.
was definitely it was that, because that's the name of this segment. What a great segue, Mr. Arthur. What is this? The final segment of the night. This is the games that has been shrunk to game, where I ask Mr. Arthur questions about pop culture that have to do with music. Mr. Arthur,
I'm learning.
you're learning. But do you have a question for him before I get started?
You know, we've been talking about, if you're still with us here, talked a little bit about animal science for Ag 1 students, how important that unit is. We pushed it back. So I had 2 animal science questions that I was going to ask. But Mr. Riley, you know, we talk about animal science and we go through all the breeds, but my favorite one, I think, is just because how I grew up, is beef. Talking about beef breeds. And I wanted to ask, what state leads the U.S. in beef production? Now, this stat may be off. You know, I'm sure it changes yearly, but this state consistently is always in the top 3.
Right.
Do you have any idea?
Top 3 of beef production?
Yeah.
Well, Texas is normally up there. Is it Texas?
It's Texas,
okay.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that California is always sneaky, and there's always a Midwest state because corn breeds big cows.
That's right. That's right. Corn breeds big cows. And so, leaping off of that, we talk about certain breeds of beef cattle being bred not to have horns. And what do we call that?
Are you asking me or are you asking them?
I'm going to tell them the answer. We call that being polled, Polled. And that simply means that breed of animal naturally does not have horns. And so for those of you who are in Ag 1 and don't know that yet, write that down because you'll see that again. And for those of you who are in Ag 2, 3, and 4, hopefully, maybe you hadn't heard that word since Ag 1. And there it is again for a review.
Love it. Love it. Man, Mr. Arthur, I've never looked forward to animal science as much as I am right now.
I'm excited.
Big excited. All right, Mr. Arthur, we're to the quiz. All right. Before I get to the quiz, I have a disclaimer. Some of the wording of today's quiz and some of my other quizzes have came from Wikipedia. It's an excellent resource to start any research for nearly anything. Start there. Don't end there. Can I get that on a t-shirt?
Yeah, it's funny because when I was in junior high, elementary school, and we'd do those research papers, our teachers would say, you can't use Wiki as a source. But, I was one of the smarter kids in class, and we realized if you went to Wiki, scroll down to the bottom, it listed all its sources. It's a great place to start.
Great place to start. And, the articles on there that aren't good, what does it say under the title? It says, needs sources. Needs citation. So I wanted to use that disclaimer because, again, I didn't write some of this, and I haven't wrote some of the stuff in the past. A good portion I have, but I didn't want to plagiarize Mr. Arthur. That's wrong.
Yeah, understood.
So this came to us, Mr. Arthur, from one of our students who's already gotten a shout out this week, so I don't want to say her name again. She requested this particular band, and I'm going to, on my email this week that the kids are supposed to respond to tomorrow morning, I'm going to have them submit more ideas for bands I could use. And so I was talking to her today, and she was like, I love playing the quiz because, sometimes I'm getting the questions right. And so I think, it's a great exercise. I love trivia, and if we could get the students more involved with this, it's even better.
It's funny though that you're going to use her as an example, because her and I have a lot of similar musical interests, but also we have some that are very different. So I'm curious to see what
I believe
she came
this
up
one will be very different. All right. One Direction, Mr. Arthur.
Yeah, not in my repertoire.
One Direction is an English-Irish pop boy band that was formed in London, England in 2010. Now, Mr. Arthur, I'm going to start with the easiest of the questions. This is one that any person who is a 1D fan will automatically know.
Well, I'm not one of those.
Mr. Arthur, what I'm saying is this is almost not even trivia. I mean, one would have to completely live under a rock not to get this one, Mr. Arthur. I mean, Mr. Arthur, they would have to live like Patrick Starr.
And you're saying all this, and then I'm going to get it wrong. So go ahead and tell me what the question.
Hey, that's the same thing you've done to me in basketball questions. So, all right. This group was, sadly, they are postponed indefinitely.
Well, God does answer prayers. Go ahead.
Wow, that hurts, Mr. Arthur. Man. So, this group, it was composed of 5 young men that had appeared on X Factor, which was a British singing competition. They finished 3rd on their season, and after they would sign with whose record label? The hint is he was the judge on the X Factor, and he has taken credit for having them create the band.
Yeah. It's Simon's record label, and I'm trying to remember what it's called.
What? I'm asking for his name.
Yeah, Simon Cowell.
You see, Mr. Arthur, anybody could get that one.
Now, let me tell you something real quick. Just fun fact about Mr. Arthur. I don't watch a lot of those shows, X Factor, American Idol, Voice, but I love to watch the bad ones. So my YouTube history is full of funniest, terrible auditions and stuff like that. So I'm pretty familiar with the music shows, although I don't watch them faithfully.
Okay. All right. I respect, Mr. Arthur. Respect. I'm going to totally butcher this, but, I made mention of this earlier in the show. It's actually disputed. There's another person who was a judge that season who has also been on the record saying that she was the one that suggested the 5 start their own band. And I had never heard that until researching for this quiz. And I can't pronounce her name, so I'm going to move on. So, good job on the first one, Mr. Arthur. I'm telling you, you had to live like Patrick Starr not to know that answer.
Who is it? I want to know.
All right, Mr. Arthur. It was Nicole Scherzinger.
Yeah, no idea. I was thinking who was on there, and I know like Mel B was on there, and I can't think of the other. Sharon Osbourne. So I thought maybe
it was not Mr. Arthur.
Yeah.
All right. So the band is formed. Okay, that was late 2010, early 2011. They would have their first debut single in September of 2011.
Okay.
That would soar to the top of all the pop charts, and it would cause them to, that was the end of 2011, and so they had a short tour in the UK, and then they came over to America in February of 2012. When they came here, they did the normal thing that you do on the press stuff. They did radio promotions, and they even opened a small concert tour as an opening act. But this is when they would go and make their first U.S. television appearance Which daily news and talk morning show did they appear on first? Hint, it has been a mainstay for the Peacock since 1952.
Is that Good Morning America?
Ooh, Mr. Arthur, you got your stations wrong.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Who is the Peacock? Is what, MSNBC?
Oh my gosh, Mr. Arthur, we gotta bring up your pop culture IQ. The Peacock is NBC.
And see, too many acronyms.
All right,
I have no idea what.
it is the Today Show.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Today Show was the first of its genre on television and in the world. It debuted January 14th, 1952. Isn't that crazy?
Long before I was born.
Well, I was in high school when it first debuted, and it wasn't big for my generation then, but when I approached my 50s and 60s, it really a fun way to get my morning news. Oh, Mr. Arthur, we have went a good ways. We have made a couple of friends, and I think we have spread the good word of agriculture to our students.
I agree. Or as we said in episode 1, 5,200 times, absolutely.
So, Mr. Arthur, do you have anything to add?
I'll just send you off with a be agriculturally literate, stay safe, wear a mask, and we hope to see you in a week. That's all I got.
I think that's a great way to end it, Mr. Arthur. Do everything you can to be safe. Enjoy agriculture. Enjoy, hopefully, learning from your home. And if we can do anything, please let us know. And stay up on your studies. We hope to see you in a week. Bye, guys.
Awesome.